This is Liberty Under Attack Radio, hosted by Shane and Matt. Your place for documented truth and where freedom is the only agenda. We must end the terror war.
Good evening, and welcome to Liberty Under Attack Radio on the Freedom ʻfālaNGks Radio Network. I've got my co-host Matt with me. How's it going, brother?
All right.
Good to hear. We've got a very special broadcast for you this evening. What was that, Matt? Anyways, we're joined by Robert Bruce from Waking Up the Masses Radio. Robert Bruce has been a radio host for many years, and he has his own show on Truth Frequency Radio. He is extremely well-researched, and in my humble opinion, he is a modern-day Bill Cooper. If you got something to add to the show, feel free to call in. The call-in number is 567-314-9296, or hit us up on Skype at FPRN Radio Live. Not at your computer? Well, that's not a big deal at all. We've got a Listen Live line provided by Audio Now. That number is 712-432-4365. You can also tune in to all of your favorite FPRN shows on your smartphone on apps like TuneIn Radio, Shoutcast, and Stitcher. First off, I'd like to point you guys in the direction of my website, libertyunderattack.com. The first installment of Matt's new series is up. It is a Q&A on the terror industrial complex, which is his expertise. This will be updated weekly, and it'll also be up here on FPRN tomorrow at some point. So, Matt, do you have anything you would like to add about the series?
Yes, I would. The terror industrial complex, and you, is about acknowledging the effort each individual person can take in learning about the dangers imposed by the oligarchical elite against people across the world and in America itself. And the terror war is a counter-ideology against the likes of the war on terror and terrorists alike, the hypocrisies, the political intrigue, the deceptive tactics against civilians. Many angles are examined in my Q&A series for interested kindred spirits in our audience. I believe in the terror war as a cause whose time has come. All that's required is willing resistance for freedom and truth, which is why I've joined in partnership with Shane and Liberty Under Attack. The terror war is a threat to liberty of people everywhere and must be called out for its depopulationist and infrastructure-damaging ideological sword of Damocles over our planet. If anyone has questions that they would like answered, please send them to matt@libertyunderattack.com.
Okay, right on. Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I'd like to begin this broadcast by playing a short clip from Bill Cooper's Mystery Babylon series to kind of set the stage for what we're going to be discussing tonight. Please pay attention and take notes. There's going to be a lot said tonight that you don't want to forget. So, producer, if you could please cue up clip 1 for us.
You're listening to The Hour of the Time. I'm your host, William Cooper. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we begin the origin, the history, the dogma, and the identity of the ancient mystery religions which are now known as the mystery schools. The Order of the Quest, Freemasonry, the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, the Knights Templar, the Sovereign and Military Order of the Knights of Malta, the Order of St. John of Jerusalem, the Priory de Sion, the Thule Society, or sometimes known as the Thule Society, the Order, the Skull and Bones, the Russell Trust, the Jason Society, the Scroll and Key, the Illuminati, and I could go on and on and on and on. But the most important thing to realize is that they all have been collectively known throughout the ages as the mystery schools. The Illuminati, which literally means illumined ones, they are all one and the same, as you will come to know. And you will understand perfectly how they've been able to infiltrate all of our society. What you hear tonight does not necessarily reflect my views, our beliefs, our religion. They have ruled from the shadows, you see. And they call themselves the guardians of the secrets of the ages. And their first religion was called astrotheology, or the worship of the heavens. And their first object of worship was the sun. The second object of worship was the moon. And everywhere you see the mystery schools or the mystery religion, you will see the symbols of the sun and the moon, also known as Osiris and Isis. For in the religion of the mystery schools, they believed that man was held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust and vindictive God. And that man was not told by this unjust and vindictive God that he could have the same powers. And man was set free from the bonds of ignorance by Lucifer through his agent Satan, and many believe that the two are the same. And that's okay, because maybe they are. And that through the gift of intellect, man himself will become God. Now, for those of you who understand what I am imparting to you now, you may not even have to listen any farther, for it explains everything that has ever happened in the history of man, and everything that is happening now, and all that is to happen in the future. They believe that the tree-dwelling ancestors of man were among the most intelligent beings of their distant age. And when these creatures finally abandoned the trees and walked fully upright, freeing their hands to serve as implements of their minds as well as their bodies, there began the most successful evolutionary drive toward higher intelligence ever witnessed in nature. Now notice, Lucifer was called the son of the morning star. He was also called the morning star, and there is a great mystery here, because Christ also called himself the morning star. But I have been told by those who have been initiated in the mystery schools that Christ and Lucifer are one and the same being. What you believe, of course, is your own business, and is not my intention to make you believe anything, but rather to impart to you what I have learned over many, many years of study into the secrets of those who worship the ancient mystery religions in secret for thousands of years. I do not advise you what you should believe or not believe. But I do advise you that we all need to learn as much as we can about everything that we can, because one thing I have learned in my life is that most of what we have ever been taught has been a lie. And that whoever these people are, who are the priests, the adepts, the initiates, the mystery schools, they are in control, and they are shaping the future, and that future will affect all of us, so we had better learn as much about them as we can.
All right. Very good clip from Bill Cooper. And I do recommend that everyone listen to his Mystery Babylon series. A lot of the things going on in the world make a lot more sense. They surely do. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. We have surely been doomed. Throughout history, tyrannical regimes have been overthrown, but the aspect always overlooked is those behind the curtain. For example, a lot of people want Obama impeached and removed from office. Those folks are overlooking those behind the curtain. As soon as he is removed, the next puppet is put in place to carry out the same agenda. Those operating behind the curtain in our corporate government are the same folks throughout history that have caused revolutions, infiltrated religions, and ultimately usurped the chance of freedom for all of humankind. The names of the people may change, but the agenda remains the same. Majority of those folks in these secret societies are unaware of the true goal of the organizations in which they join. For example, those who join Freemasonry that are below the 30th degree are completely unaware that Freemasonry is a religion and that the god of their religion is Lucifer, and that is admitted it's admitted time and time again by Masonic writers. And that is if they even travel up to the degrees to get to the 30th degree. Most won't. For those that aren't, they are consistently brainwashed and deceived and are never told the truth about Freemasonry. In my opinion, to restore freedom, there is one step that needs to be taken that has lacked focus throughout history. There have been some points in history, such as like the anti-Masonic Party, that have spent some sort of focus on secret societies, but overall, not so much, and that's why we're in the state that we are in today. We need to expose secret societies and remove the hidden hand that has been so overlooked throughout history. Now, please allow me to read a very short excerpt from Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse. Quote, "You must understand that secrecy is wrong. The very fact that a meeting is in secret tells me that something is going on that I would not approve. Do not ever believe that grown men meet on a regular basis just to put on fancy robes, hold candles, and glad hand each other. These men meet for important reasons, and their meetings are secret because what goes on during the meetings would not be approved by the community. The very fact that something is secret means there's something to hide." I'd like to read one more excerpt, and this is from Manly P. Hall, who is one of those Masonic writers. It's out of his book called The Secret Destiny of America, which I recommend everyone read. Quote, "Today's thinking toward a democratic world state is neither a new trend nor an accidental circumstance. The work of setting up the background of knowledge necessary to the establishing of enlightened democracy among all nations has been carried on for many hundreds of years by secret societies. Secret societies have existed among all peoples, savage and civilized, since the beginning of recorded history. The esoteric organizations of ancient times were, for the most part, religious and philosophical. In the medieval world, they were philosophical and political. In the modern, political and social. Secret societies have had concealment and protection as the first purpose for their existence. The members of these orders were party to some special knowledge. They usually took part in certain rites and rituals not available to non-members. But it was more important that through the societies, they were also able to practice beliefs and doctrines in private for which they would have been condemned and persecuted if these rites were made public. A second purpose for secret societies was to create a mechanism for the perpetuation from generation to generation of policies, principles, or systems of learning confined to a limited group of selected and initiated persons," end quote. So I'm almost positive that will provide a sufficient introduction for the topics that we'll discuss tonight. So Robert, I would love to thank you for coming on to Liberty Under Attack Radio. It's definitely an honor to have you on the show. So Robert, how are you doing
don't
tonight,
say
brother?
that. I'm just a normal person, man. we're two men here talking about these things. And I have to say one thing. You know, secret societies, we have to remember that sometimes in history, these things were, we could read that same thing and talk about the secret societies of the Christians that met, say, in Roman times, that made sure and met in secret societies. And you just mentioned there at the end, they did these things in secret because they would be attacked. Because their beliefs would be, hey, you're a nutcase, man. You can't be believing that kind of stuff, and that doesn't go with the religion of Mithra. So, even that, I hear people and they will say, well, there are certain secret societies that work. Well, see, that's the problem. It stagnates things too. If we have a secret society that is about Christianity, well, what have you done? You said, I'm a coward, just like the other ones. I hate to say that, but you said, I'm a coward. I'm afraid to come out to the open and start raising Cain about it. And And by doing that, what happened? What happened with Christianity? Well, long before Rome subverted it, you got the Manichaeans coming along and other Gnostic groups that subverted Christianity because they used the model, man. They used the model of it being a secret society. So even when you set up the template for something good, usually something bad ends up.
Infiltration. It always happens.
Yes. Anytime you set up a template for something good, thinking we're going to save, this guy taught us all these new things, and we know we're under persecution for believing in them, so we're going to conceal it. We're going to conceal it, but eventually it becomes corrupted. So, hey, man, I think if somebody wants to go to a lodge and do blah, 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 whatever, but it should go back to what the lodge was established for in England in 1717. It should be about astronomy, science, and mathematics. That should be the extent. It should be for those learned men that want to go through 3 degrees of allegory and sit there and think on stuff basically for the rest of their life, but at the same time be inspired in the research of science, mathematics, and astrology. Astronomy, not astrology, astronomy. But it was corrupted. It was easily corrupted. It was already, the template that was already set up for Masonry had already been corrupted by the Rosicrucians in France. So even these groups, you start doing something behind closed doors, you have good intentions, and it usually always goes bad.
Yep, definitely. So, Robert, I want you, if you want to, I'd like you to plug your show when people can hear it, where they can find it. I will say his show is, it's definitely a lot of interesting subjects that are discussed. So, Robert, why don't you go ahead and plug your show?
I'm on Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on truthfrequencyradio.com. Then I go into a lot of things like this. Examine modern day politics too, and modern day, if you want to call it news. It's supposed to be northeast, west, south. It's more like B and S, but modern day news and how it relates to things that we have going on right now. It's just there's nothing new under their sun, man. Nothing new under their sun. It's always the same over and over. It's a repeat of history. There's new little trinkets on it, new technology, all of these things, but basically it's a constant. Now, there are different control mechanisms and different groups that are in control, but it seems just like a big swat, whether it's by design or whether it's the natural order of things. It seems like there's just a constant, we're gerbils on the wheel, man. We're gerbils on the wheel.
Yep, indeed. So we do have a caller on the line, 973. I think this is Greg. Greg, are you there, brother?
What's up, guys? How are you?
There we go. How's it going, Greg?
What's going on, guys?
Hello, Greg.
Doing well. How you guys doing?
We're doing well.
Hey, how are you? I just wanted to go back before I wanted to just comment on what you said about Rosicrucianism. Rosicrucianism is a part of English Freemasonry and a part of Prior Zion. Rosicrucianism and Martinism were used to spy on French Templarism and on the Grand Orient of Freemasonry as well. But what I also wanted...
Rosicrucianism goes back way before way before you have Rosicrucians. If you examine all the deep beliefs of Rosicrucians, you find nothing more than the ancient Gnostic beliefs, man, where they, in a little symbolic way, they say, we are part of nature, but we're also apart from nature. So therefore, to perfect ourselves, we become the masters of nature. And, they've symbolically put it into the pictures of the witches controlling the elements and everything. But, it's really just been a physical thing, is whether it's the nature of people turning man into slavery, man into a slave, that base metal into gold, and that they symbolize it with. But Rosicrucianism is an ancient belief, and it does go back to those Gnostic beliefs. And if you look in the ancient Persian Gnostics, you will find, it's not like the modern-day lodge. You would go under, in some of these ancient, whether it's Persians or the Egyptians and other ones, you would be underground for like a long time, sometimes in the Egyptian mysteries for over a year. And then you were brought into the light. And you went through all kind of grueling stuff, man, and they did it to confuse the aspirant. So he would go on. And do those things you're talking about.
Well, John Daniel explains it very well what Rosicrucianism is in his book.
He's a good author, isn't he?
And not only is he a good author, but he explains exactly how the Prior Zion, English Freemasonry, split up from the Knights Templar French Freemasonry, and then how you had the OTO and the French, the Grand Orient, and there's 4 different parts of Freemasonry. But when it all started, before the English lodges merged into one mother lodge in 1717, you have to look where English Freemasonry came from, and it came from the Merovingian dynasty, the pretenders of the throne, known as the Prior of Sion. Gentiles, way
well, it would
a lot higher
have
than
been,
the
it would have been what
33rd
we
degree.
know as, in its beginning, the Order of Sion. It was a Order of Sion, and it was that abbey. It was that abbey that was set up there in Jerusalem as the little headquarters of these, we got the divine right to rule inbred people.
Well,
And they're it's like high school, isn't it,
Prior-
man? It's like high school, but it's like people that never grew up, but they're still playing high school, but they're dangerous. It's like, okay, you didn't defend us, so we're mad at you. No, we're mad at you. You took the money. No, we didn't. Back and forth, and we are the cannon fodder throughout history.
Well, it depends. Well, if you look at English Freemasonry, they're basically the old royalty. If you look at the Knights Templar, they're basically the George Washingtons, the Ben Franklins. They were the Jacobins, the communists. Jacques Desmoulins. That's where the Jacobins come from. If you look at Jacques Desmoulins, when October 13, the Freemasons say, the number 13 has no significance. Well, Jacques Desmoulins was rounded up by the king and the Pope over there. The king owed him a lot of money.
Friday the 13th.
Basically, and on November, right, exactly, and on November 22nd, he was burned at the stake, Jacques Desmoulins. And 666 years later, on November 22nd,
the popular belief says that
JFK
he screamed
was
out
killed.
and said, he was going to get you all. He's going after the church and the state and the mob. But
and then
the mainstream
king died
historical
that
belief
same
tells
year.
you that he screamed and he died.
Well, I just wanted. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure there's other people wanted to call, but I just wanted to share something. Actually, on what you guys were talking about before.
If I could tell you real quick, Jacques de Molay, just like Solomon and all this, it's just, once again, it's an allegory. They could care less about Templar or this or anything. It's once again another allegory.
It's not.
For
No,
the
it's
death,
not.
just like Solomon,
it's
the death, that would be the putrefaction. That goes to the
Jacques,
second.
listen, Jacques Desmoulins existed. He was a real guy.
No,
And the
I'm telling you,
Jacobin
that's
gloves
fine.
were the first comets.
So did Hiram Abiff, but not the Hiram Abiff of Masonry.
Hiram Abiff didn't exist. Hiram Abiff didn't exist. That was
Hiram Abiff-
symbolic.
there is the guy that built the Temple of Solomon did exist. That's Hiram Abiff, but the Hiram Abiff of the Masons is not that Hiram Abiff. There's actually 2 Hirams in the Bible. There's the guy that was the builder, plus there was a king Hiram. But yes, there was. Yeah, but the Hiram Abiff of Masonry is once again another allegory, just like Osiris.
I don't know what Hiram Abiff you're talking about, but there is no person that actually exists named Hiram Abiff.
Yes, there was in the Bible.
After the Masonic legend. Just like there's no such person as Christian Rosencrantz.
And Hiram Abiff is in the Bible, okay? But it's not the Hiram Abiff that Masonry talks about. That's what I'm telling you. Hiram was the builder of the temple.
You're thinking about Solomon. You might be thinking about King Solomon. I don't think you're thinking about
That's who got Solomon to build that. But in the Bible, he built it and he left. He didn't die. His 3 helpers, they didn't kill him. No, it is in the Bible, and he was, but he finished and he left. But what I'm telling you is they use these as allegory. Whether it's Jacques de Molay, whether it's Hiram Abiff, whether it's Osiris, Belus, Ra, blah, blah, it's all an allegory for doctrine. It's all an allegory for doctrine.
I just wanted to share, exactly, and I just wanted to share one thing about doctrine. And what you guys were saying before, and I'll let you guys get on with the show, was when you said that these, now, these people at the top, they practice the Luciferian doctrine, and the Luciferian doctrine has nothing to do with being, with worshiping
Lucifer.
Satan. And Albert Pike was, or worshiping Lucifer for that matter. But if you, in occult theocracy, what Edith Miller says, and actually John Daniel actually repeats as well, is what Albert Pike actually said to the Masonic Congress, and he said, that which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God, but it is the God that one adore. And the reason he said this, by the way, before I read, is because English Freemasonry had to believe in some type of deity, while French Freemasonry, which Albert Pike was from, was an atheist. So in other words, to unite, when he was trying to unite English and French Freemasonry, this what he was trying to say, yes, there is a God, but at the end they basically said that you're worshiping us, men, at the end. So it says, that which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God, but it is the God that one adores without superstition. To you, sovereign grand inspectors general of the 33rd degree, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, the God of the Bible, whose deeds prove his cruelty, perfidy, and hatred of man, barbarism, and repulsion for science, would Adonai and his priests calumniate him? Yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately Adonai is also God. For the internal law is that there is no light without shade, no beauty without ugliness, no white without black, for the absolute can only exist as two gods, darkness being necessary to light to serve as its foil, as the pedestal is necessary to the statue and the brake is to the locomotive. In analogical and universal dynamics, one can only lean on that which will resist. Thus, the universe is balanced by two forces which maintain its equilibrium, the force of attraction and that of repulsion. These two forces exist in physics, philosophy, and religion, and the scientific reality of the divine dualism is demonstrated by the phenomena of polarity and by the universal law of sympathies and antipathies. That is why the intelligent disciples of Zoroaster, as well as after them the Gnostics, the Manichaeans, and the Templars, have admitted as the only logical metaphysical conception a system of the divine principles fighting eternally, and one cannot believe the one inferior in power to the other. Thus, the doctrine of Satanism is a heresy, and the true and pure philosophic religion is in the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, God of darkness and evil. But what he was saying about that, he doesn't really believe in Lucifer. He was just trying to unite English and Freemasonry. At the top of the degrees, they're the gods. They believe in the humanitarian secular religion.
Well, he understood that very well. His partner in crime, who definitely did more damage than Pike ever could, Manzini. Manzini was a devout atheist. So to get Manzini on board with this Luciferian doctrine, it had to be open so it could be interpreted both ways, like you said.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Manzini. That's a very good point, because Manzini supposedly, it's very well documented. John Wilkes Booth was a 33rd degree Mason and an assassin of Manzini, and Manzini was also a 33rd degree Mason and the head of the mafia in Italy, and was in cahoots with Pike at the time when Abe Lincoln was shot in the back of the head.
Indeed. It's been
enjoy
the information.
Thank you
man.
for calling in, brother. Definitely, we're getting close to a break. I hate to cut you off, but definitely call in next week. All right, man? Thanks for stopping by.
Take care, guys.
Yep, have a good one.
Have a good one.
Yep. So we are about to head to break here, but as you can see, this is going to be a very interesting discussion. And it can span it'll span about 5,000 or 6,000 years of history. When we come back, we're going to discuss the Masonic founding of this nation, and it'll tie right back into last week. So stick around, guys. Liberty Under Attack Radio will be right back.